Okay, welcome everyone to verse 2 of the Dao De Jing. Today I am with my dad and we're going to break it down. So let's start with the first line here.
Mhm.
As soon as beauty is known by the world as beautiful, it becomes ugly. As soon as virtue is being known as something good, it becomes evil. And just as a note, I am using the PDF that you sent me last night, the PDF that my dad sent me, the second PDF. I switched it with the original one that I was going to use. So, because I like the ones that you sent me.
Yeah, I find that the second one has a better explanation of the Tao Te Ching. Let me uh, look at this here.
Yeah. So maybe I'll
It's-
start with my thoughts on it. Um,
mhm.
because even if something is beautiful, once we put the label or judgment on it, that that it is beautiful, and then now it becomes subjective, and once that happens, then there'll be the opposite or the duality that occurs. um, yeah, I think that's all I got.
Oh,
Or I
yeah,
don't know if you have more to say.
all this comparison is they want you to know that it's relative, like everything is relative to everything else.
Mhm.
Uh, so ugly is relative to beauty. So that they want you to know that if you are very subjective, uh, then you will lose your clear mind, right? Your clear mind is you want to have a free mind. You want to be
Mhm.
subjected to anything. So beauty, like what is the standard for beauty, is really relative to something else.
Mhm.
Right? It's not the absolute. Yeah, so it's trying to tell you what absolute is. It's your clear mind and it's your oneness with yourself, your oneness with the universe. But then if your mind is subject to, oh, this is subject to something that affects your mind and makes your mind doing all the thinking again, doing all this comparison again, then you
Mhm.
get lost into this comparison world again.
Mhm.
That's that's how our mind is fooling us every day. Is like, oh, this is better than that. This is more fun than this. This is more intelligent than that. So we are always constantly making that comparison, and the mind is constantly busy trying to handle all that comparison. Um, then we lose big time. We lose our own uh, Buddha nature, the own natural essence in us. That's the Tao. So the Tao, in this chapter 2, I find that the first 8 lines are an example of what you can compare. That you can compare anything. But
Mhm.
eight is just an example, right? It can be thousands of things
Yeah.
fall into that comparison. Yeah, so that first, once you understand the first line, then all the other 8 lines are the same. Like it's just an example showing you that, see, you can, this is all this comparison from sounds to appearance to a task, like an easy task, an easy job or hard to do job. So that would pretty well cover that example, pretty well cover all the comparison uh, group together.
Mhm.
But if you break it down, it would be endless.
Mhm.
It can be. So that's an example of our mind uh, in this world, and everybody's mind uh, functions in a way that got stuck in this comparison world and have lost uh, the essence,
Mhm.
lost its natural nature of the mind. So if you continue further down, then it would explain further how to get, how to not get entangled into this or not clinging into all this comparison stuff. Yeah. So
Mhm.
if you scroll down,
Yeah.
there
Okay.
would.
I think for reference, I'll just read this out just for people watching
Mhm.
the video. So the,
Yeah.
the next
Read,
lines
read.
go, therefore, being and non being give birth to each other. Difficult and easy accomplish each other. Long and short form each other. High and low distinguish each other. Sound and tone harmonize each other. Before and after follow each other as a sequence. Um, and so it's like kind of saying like you can't have difficult without easy or easy without difficult because they exist together. Because once you assign a label that something is difficult, then naturally there'll be something that's easy. But actually, before we go into the next part, but maybe it might be addressed in the next part. So I'll just ask a question and you let me know if it'll be
Mhm.
addressed in the next lines or not. Um,
Right.
I'm just going to come back to this top part here. Uh, because our minds are always comparing, and and so say if I see a flower and then I say that the flower is beautiful, then that naturally means that there will be something that's ugly, because that's how I know that the flower is beautiful. So I guess it's more like, um, how would a sage approach a flower? Would it say that it's beautiful, or it'll just look at it and just, that is a flower?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's the idea. It's hard to understand, hard to get a handle on it. Yeah, because and then it makes your mind thinking again. Like you would be, oh, if there's beauty, there's got to be an ugly, right? Uh, but it doesn't really happen that way. Like um, what it is trying to show you here is that it's a duality world. Yeah, like because if you thinking that it's beauty, then you might have a tendency to cling or to get attached to that beauty,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be part of it, and you want to grab it. Like a tendency might be like to grab it or to own it, right? Uh, then on the other hand, if if you, let's see, you see something that is very dirty or ugly, uh, you don't want to be any part of it. You want to stay away from it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, so let's try to say that. So a beauty, if you have a tendency that you want to own it, but then if you fall into something, if you run into something that has the opposite force, um, then you don't want to have anything to do with it. Like you want to resist it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like a flower is just an example. So let's say if something that is a hearing. So if you hear something nice, right? If you hear somebody is saying something nice about you, they're very proud of you. Oh, wow, that feels good. I want to hear more of it, right?
Mhm.
Then you get attached to it. And you, but then if, on the other hand, if someone say bad things about you, uh, something that's not nice, and then you would really resist it. You would, oh, I hate this
Mhm.
person, you know. How can they say something like that? And yeah, so the idea is, so all of this it's just, all this is just an example. So the idea is to get to tell you, you have to think of it as something in the inner world. See, the Tao Te Jing and a lot of the Buddhist sutra is all trying to tell you your inner world,
Mhm.
your inner self, how to get it balanced, how to get it calm and content, and uh, that would be the ultimate solution for all of your stress and your any of the suffering.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's that makes sense.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't really go line by line. Oh yeah, see this can produce that, and that produce this. So this whole idea is is not to let your mind get trapped into what you're really seeing by your eye, yeah, by your senses. Yeah, not to get fooled or get trapped into what your sense that is giving you the signal that you think, oh, this signal is a good signal. I want it. And this is a bad thing. I don't want it.
Mhm.
I resist it. And then there would be, like, for your whole life, you would just run in circles into all this uh, resist and craving,
Mhm.
resist. Yeah. So see, every day, most of the time, we get stuck into this kind of stuff, right? Oh, I just did something good, or this person just did something good, did something bad. Or
Mhm.
so if you analyze it, all day we're just busy trying to figure that out, and that's wasted a lot of energy
Mhm.
and a lot of time, and your mind can never calm down or get into a stillness,
Mhm.
into a oneness at the present moment that would be the proper clear mind, right? So if you get stuck into this, your mind is not clear. You cannot get a clear mind. Um,
Mhm. Yeah. The quote that comes to mind when I see this is "See things as they are." Um, I think I don't know why that came to mind, but I think it's like just like um, instead of us putting judgment on something like this is good or bad, like it's that's just the object.
yeah, that is a lot of the meditation books, even the Buddhism, also has that term. See things as they are. Uh, so that one, you can get lost in that meaning very very easily too. A lot of people think, oh, oh, see this guy uh, needs help, or he, uh, or that's the way it is. See it as it is. Don't have to do anything. Uh, so that and that, then you will fall into another trap.
Mhm.
Yeah, like they're talking about the inner self again here. See things as they are is you your natural you have a natural instinct. Let's say if you run into a if you see a child is almost falling down a cliff or falling down a well or something, and just that instantly, that snap, you would just go grab them. You don't have to think, right? So that is your Buddha nature response. Something you don't have to think,
mm,
and you respond by saving a life.
mm,
So that's another example of it.
mhm.
Or somebody needs help, you just naturally help.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, but you don't think first. Oh, this he doesn't look good. It's not beautiful. I'm not going to help here. That there looks more beautiful. I'm going to help that one.
Mhm,
then you cannot see things as they are, right? Then your uh, um, just like this chapter 2, the beginning there, the discrimination will kick in.
mhm,
Yeah. So just do things that they was like in the Buddhism, they would do things that would benefit all beings
mhm. Yeah.
uh, without discriminating. I think it's more a meaning like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
It's not like, yeah. And it can also mean like nature, right? Like today, yesterday we have snow.
mhm,
Yeah, snow. That's the way it is.
mhm,
The season comes and it snows, and you don't have to put another thought to it.
mhm.
It is, it is as it is. You don't have to think, oh man, why is snow? I hate snow. You know, I want sunshine. Okay,
Mhm,
then you're in trouble again. Then you get stuck. Your mind is not clear. Your mind gets stuck into this again.
mhm,
Yeah, so I think that we're really trying to tell you something like that, and don't get lost into the word, because yeah, the wording of this, the saints use words trying to get the nearest meaning
mhm,
of what they their mind, their state of mind is. So they have to use word to convey that message, and words usually sometimes cannot get an exact,
mhm.
right?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
think that that's a really good example with the snow because there's a lot of people like at work and stuff yesterday, or my friends are like, oh, like this sucks, or like the snow is so bad, or like, oh, I hate winter, things like that. But
yeah,
it's
see,
not good or bad. It's just snow.
yeah, snow is snow. Season comes and it snows, right? And uh, and it's weather is cold, so we just put on more clothes, and
Mhm,
and you don't really have to put a thought to it. You don't really have to label it good or bad, right? Oh, snow is bad. But then there are a lot of other beings uh, waiting for snow,
mhm,
like the skiers and snowboarding. Oh man, snow! So we can go ski, and they're very happy. So then, how? What is the standard for bad, good, and bad? This group of person just loves that snow, and then this other group of person just hates it.
mhm,
And at the end, it's all nature. You don't have
mhm.
to really put a thought to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, this reminds me of another question I have. So it's the difference between judgment and discernment. Because judgment is when we're adding subjective opinion to something, but discernment, like, it's is like kind of based on facts. So it's not like, say I have like arthritis and it snows and my arthritis gets really bad. so that the snow gets it's inconvenient for me. But if I use judgment, then I might get upset. But if I use discernment, then I don't necessarily have an emotional response, but I recognize that this might not be healthy for my joints, so I might need to move to a warmer location.
Yeah, yeah, right. Or do some other like massage or acupuncture, like some preparedness, right? Uh, to have a better quality life, right? Because and if you have a person has some kind of illness due to a weather or some other stuff, uh, then if they don't prepare, don't do something to alleviate, or and then because snow is very unreasonable to expect no snow.
Hmm.
That's not that way. Like that's another thought again, right? Uh, so yeah, like you just have to go with get around nature if to get that illness to work out uh, for you, and don't think that this snow is causing pain for me. Now I'm very sad, and uh, that would be a another subjective mind. It's
Hmm.
not a discerning mind like you mentioned. Uh, because as that even that little bit of unhappiness or emotional because of the snow or something or other events, and day by day all this will add up in your mind. Like the mind can be like a hard drive.
Hmm.
Yeah, so if you allow all this to happen and have a negative thought to it, and unknowingly, without you knowing it, all saved in the mind, and they're gonna get you one day when all this stuff will, like they would get saved in this mind, and then they would be dormant, right? But one day something triggered, and then they would all surface, and like hell broke loose.
Hmm.
And that mind would be a lot harder to calm, a lot harder to control.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it that's why there's the saying in Buddhism says cause and effect. So all these causes, it if you let it happen, and it would have a real bad effect on a person
Hmm.
when the time is right.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's that explain the
Hmm.
subjective and the discerning. Uh,
Yeah, okay. And I'll go on to the next line, which is realizing this, the saint performs effortlessly according to the natural way without personal desire, and practices the wordless teachings through one's deeds.
you see, this line says exactly like you mentioned before, right? Uh, so let's say snow, and if for the enlightened one or the saint, they would just okay
Hmm.
effortlessly. They just very peacefully
Hmm.
shovel the snow,
Hmm.
put more clothes on without personal desire. Personal desire means I have the desire for it to snow less, or not snow. Uh, but if you have that desire means suffering.
Hmm.
Yeah, so uh, slowly that desire. will consume your mind. Yeah, so the saint, so that means they just go with the natural way of Tao
mm,
without being subjective, something for personal gain or personal desire. Okay, and then the practice the worldless teaching through one's deeds.
mhm,
Yeah, this one can be confusing.
mhm,
Wordless. Okay, what is the wordless teaching? Right? So wordless, some teachings, especially the inner mind, are very, very hard to teach by words. So if you write a letter or you write a book to teach someone how to be in a state of oneness, it's very hard to teach through words, right?
mhm.
So in the old days, they would call this mind to mind transmission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the word is teaching means mind to mind transmission. That means, see, they have to for this to to practice this oneness, they have to find someone who is enlightened, right? Then in front of them, they would have a conversation, and the enlightened one will ask the this person questions, and what do they think about Tao, and what Tao is. So by their answer, the enlightened one will know whether he is getting it right or wrong.
Mm,
Yeah, so that's what they call a wordless teaching, mind to mind transmission.
mm,
So they would, if there's some, it's like a stamp, like the enlightened ones have an enlightened mind, and then they would pass this to the unenlightened one
mhm,
through mind to mind transmission by very by their conversation, and they are able to do that. Like they're very good. If you have time, read some Buddhism, like Wei Neng. There is
mm,
a six patriarch
mhm,
uh, Zen master called Wei Neng, and that explains it really well.
mhm.
Mm.
Let me just add a note, just in case anyone's watching and wants to know how. I think that's how
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Wei Neng is yeah, it's a very famous. Anybody practicing Zen should read it.
Mm,
It's I think it's a six in the sixth century, so it's about 1400 years ago,
mhm,
and it's called a platform sutra. Yeah, yeah, this is called a six patriarch platform sutra,
mm, mm,
and,
right.
and
Yeah.
they have a chapter that devotes into like all the Zen practice uh, were visiting Huining, and how they communicate, and by their communication, Huining will catch them right away that they are whether they are in the right or in the wrong state of mind for meditation, because it's important to get it right, exactly right. It
Mhm,
cannot be a little bit off. So if a person that practices Zen and meditate, you have to read different like Taoism and Buddhism. It's better to get Buddhism too because some explain it really well, and then that would guide you to get the exact mind state of mind. Because once you wander off in a path and do it for 10, 20 years, it's very, very hard to get it back on track again.
Mm.
Because then all these old habits and the old belief are die hard. Yeah, so to start meditation, you have to read carefully the scriptures of the sutras and get it right. And Wayman has a chapter in it that would catch all the faults of the practitioners. And then he corrects them.
Mm.
How he corrects them through conversation. So that is a very good chapter in that one. I learned a lot from that from him.
Mm. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense because that was the part that I was most uncertain about the wordless teaching, because as a teacher for my day job, it's something that I use a lot of words for, but it
Yeah,
yeah.
that's in the material world, right?
Hmm.
If you think about in the spiritual world, like the creator, words are created. So creator creates everything, creates us, creates our mind, thinking mind. Then we invented the words, right? But then if you're using words to describe the creator, it would be quite difficult,
Hmm.
right? Because once things are put in the words, then you are further and further away from the creator. Yeah, then that would have to refer you to the Zen, to the Zen practitioners. Uh, and in the platform sutra, they call it.
Hmm.
That's a really good one.
It reminds
Oh,
me of the story I heard. They said the Buddha, when he was still on Earth, he taught an entire sermon just by looking at a flower the whole time without saying a word. He was just pondering the flower,
yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah.
there was one like that. Yeah, yeah. Just by moving hands, but that's very extreme.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Very
Yeah.
extreme. Most person like now we're in this world. It's called uh, it's really less and less about the real uh, spiritual. The spiritual teaching is very dim
Hmm.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, because material and massive data that's fitting through our minds is clouding it all up. Okay, yeah, so
Hmm.
we can continue on.
Okay. I just want to elaborate a little bit because um, this Wu Wei as is I think getting more popular in Western culture. I'm seeing it in more articles, and it's in the articles they call it effortless action. So I think maybe just elaborating a little bit more on that. I think because it's a little bit hard to think of sometimes, because right now in our society we're like hyper productive. We're always focused on doing things all the time, and we're moving away from just being. So I think it'd be good to talk a little bit more about like how could we have effortless action, or what does that look like?
Yeah, effortless action. Yeah, like by the words again, it's a little bit off because every time you try to explain an emptiness, a void, then you have to use a word to describe it, and then you have to create a thought to analyze it, and it's very hard to understand. Uh, so move away is, some people would call it action in non-action,
Okay, yeah, I like that.
maybe. So that means, yeah, it can be action in non-action. That means, like the saint, they can be like a real normal person. You never know that he's a saint
Hmm.
because he would just do normal things. Like
Mm.
saints are like, they don't wear like a robe or walk like a saint or
Hmm.
something where you can distinguish it. But no, it can be just on the street, but it's just their state of mind that makes them saint. So the moe means non-attachment.
Mm.
Yeah, they will do the same thing as we do.
Hmm.
The way we do it, if we think that something is really nice, really high value or something,
Hmm.
we get attached to it.
Hmm.
We think about it every day, every time.
Yeah, yeah. Because thing I was thinking about was like, say, like weightlifting.
Uh-huh.
Because that takes a lot of like physical effort. Um, but if I was going to say exercise or weight lift from a way point of view, just trying to picture how that might, or like trying to see what that
Yeah,
might be
see, if
like.
you're thinking about effortless to lift some kind of weight, is it?
Mm. Or
Then
like, yeah.
that would be a physical world.
Hmm.
Now, remember that they are not talking about physical world, right? They're talking about inner world.
Right. So it's
Uh-huh.
maybe like mental effort.
Yeah, yeah. Mental effort would be more accurate. Yeah, they all they're talking about is mental.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you think of it as a physical world, then they don't make sense.
Right. Okay,
Like,
that makes, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Like there's no mental effort. So like for example, that example that you gave for like saving like a person, you just rush to save them. You don't even think about it.
yeah,
You're not.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Hmm. Or people simple as shoveling snow, they just shovel snow without mentally tied to anything,
Hmm.
cling to anything. So
Yeah.
that means action in non-action. That makes sense now, right?
Yeah. Actually, it reminds me of a story that I read. There was this novice monk that went to the monastery, and then there was like a pile of like 1,000 dishes for him to wash. And then he was like, "How am I ever going to wash all these?" And he got very frustrated. And then the senior monk was like, "There's only one dish to wash, and that's the dish in your hand." And then I thought that was interesting because it's kind of like focusing on
Yeah,
the
that's a good
present. Yeah.
example, right? Because they just wash dish as is.
Hmm.
There's no other thought in it.
Hmm.
So just wash until you get hungry, you go eat,
Hmm.
you get feel sleepy, you just go sleep.
Yeah.
That's it. As is.
Yeah.
Now it makes real sense now with that
Yeah.
example.
It does.
That's a good example. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you practice your life this way, every day you'll be very effortless. You have
Hmm.
good freedom. That's
Yeah.
real freedom.
You have so much more energy too because your
Yeah.
thinking uses so much energy.
Right. Right. And in whatever situation, and you have this same mindset. So there is really no easy or hard task,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, now it all makes all sense now to you
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I like this chapter a lot. Okay, so the next line is, the saint inspires the vitality of all lives without holding back. He nurtures all beings with no wish to take possession of or take a possession of them.
Right. Yeah. See, this line we can pull back that example of a child falling in a well or any beings that needed help. Maybe a beggar needed some food, so he would just give him some food or save a life or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't think about, oh, should I save this? Should I do this? He just naturally like happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without putting much effort in the mentality. And then so he nurtures, so he would not take possession of his deeds. Like people would think that, oh, this is a good deed, right? I did something good today, so okay, I got some marks, or I feel good because I did something good. He's in his mind, he's the same. It's just a natural instinct that he does it this way. That's just a natural creator because the creator created us like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural response. So he
Um,
follows the Tao and it just follows the creator's force.
okay, let me pause the video for 1 second. Okay, now we are live again. Nurtures with no wish to take possession of. Actually, the first example that came to my mind for this one is like say there's like a cat, and then you give the cat food, but then the cat doesn't like you back, and then you get upset because then you're trying to, I guess, possess the cat or like have the cat like you back. Um, and but then it's like the saint will, just give because that's his nature. He'll just give with no expectation that of any outcome.
Right. Because the things, through the thing's eyes, this world, a physical world, any materialism, any possession of ownership of stuff are fake,
Mm,
are an illusion. So he doesn't really cling into them, right? Yeah, but of course he still needs like a shelter and food and stuff like that. But
mm-hmm,
other than that, he'll be very content with what he's got. Like,
mm,
but he doesn't really want to get famous or uh, get credits for what he did, uh, because he knows uh, it's impermanent. It
mm,
would just all disappear uh, in in a very short time.
right.
Yes. So he just follows the Tao, walk the Tao way, and that is a uh, like something that won't go, won't get disappeared. Yeah. So that's why they maintain the oneness. So they do that to maintain that oneness mindset or the present moment, because they won't lose it even after the lifetime. After their lifetime, so that's they will see that anything materially touchable, or with our senses we can sense, are not real
Mm,
to them. So that's why they are able to do it. They're able to not take possession, uh, uh, not dwell into uh, any credits, in recognition. They don't care. They just do what they have to do.
mm,
Yeah, following the Tao, the natural way.
right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Something that came to mind is like the without holding back part. So I also like kind of without hesitation. are kind of like, I guess, living fully, um, without
uh,
holding back. Um,
without holding back. Oh, you mean without holding back the way they give?
I think is that what this line is suggesting?
Okay, yeah, then you are into, yeah, it can be explained like that. Yeah, they would share. Some would go as far as sharing their wealth, like they would make a lot of donations. Uh, but that doesn't mean that they're going to give everything away because they still
Hmm.
need food and a shelter to live, right? So that
Yeah.
means like stuff they do that they can in the mentality again. Now this is in the you might be thinking of the material again, physical world, like mentally. They if they run into someone that needs help, they would do their best to help them.
Mm. Hmm.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
really mean like that,
Yeah. So
right?
it's like mentally holding back. It's not like, oh, you weren't nice to me last year, so I'm not going to be
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
to
I'm
you.
not gonna, oh, I'm not gonna take a revenge or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense now. Um, okay. And then the next line here is, he devotes all his energy, but has no intention to hold on to the merit. When success is achieved, he seeks no recognition.
Yeah, yeah, right. Because if he successfully did something or helped someone, uh, uh, if he seeks recognition, once then that is a want, that is a craving, and that he would lose the Tao right away, quickly, just
Mm.
in a snap. Because once you have a an urge
Hmm.
to take something to get recognized, to take something, the Tao is hidden again.
Hmm.
Then that urge uh, would take precedence to make your mind get into the thinking of getting how to get recognized,
Hmm.
how to get something that I want, right? And once your head, the mind begins the thinking process, then the oneness disappears. It just blocks the oneness because then you have a two, you have a three.
Hmm.
You don't have a oneness anymore because then you want something else, right? Then
Hmm.
it's no longer a oneness.
Yeah.
Oneness means uh, non attachment. You don't want to get attached, even to recognition, even to marriage,
Hmm.
even to possession.
Yeah.
Once you get attached to something, it's no longer oneness again, right? If you experience it yourself, you know.
Mm.
Because once you have a thought that comes up, then you get lost in that thought.
Hmm.
Then you would go back to the beginning, the first 8 lines. Oh, then you have all this relativity going on, the relative going on again. I can be better doing this, or I can be richer doing this.
Hmm.
Uh, then you fall back to that uh, old habit again.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I
That's
when
why
I
that means that they are devoted to the Tao.
mm,
Okay, you go ahead.
um, it just reminds me of like me making videos, because a lot of times, it's easy to think, oh, oh, no one watches them, so like, what's the point, or like or like when you get merit, then you get attached to it. You get attached to the outcome. Like, oh, like, you know, someone liked the video, or but uh, but I think it would be better to just make them because that's what feels right in the moment. Like that's what's arising to be a gift in the moment. Uh, and then regardless of the merit or any recognition that comes as a result.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like first of all, the making this video, you can learn a lot from it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Even if yeah, so that is a big achievement there.
Hmm.
So whatever outcome or how many views, it will be a secondary
Hmm.
thing. Would be more views would more people can share it, can share the experience, can share the knowledge, right? But not much, not no views, you're still a winner.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot, right? You learn a lot from it, and that is the important thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then is if we can share this, that would be even better.
Hmm. Yeah. These two lines remind me of some spiritual texts that I've read, where it's like you're kind of emptying your 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 mind, I guess, emptying your mind of yourself so that it can become this vessel for God to work through you. Um, so it's almost like we're letting go of the ego and just letting whatever natural instincts, or like kind of letting this higher power. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one too. Like the important thing is you have to learn how to empty your mind
Mhm.
first
Yeah.
in order to understand the deeper
Mhm.
meaning of it, because they're all talking about in the world, in the self, with an empty mind, like
Mhm.
because once your mind is empty, your mind is still. You have a
Mhm.
still mind. Um, but in order to empty the mind, you have to learn to let go, right? If you're attached to something, clinging to a lot of stuff, then you cannot empty the mind because you're always clinging to something.
Mhm.
So you have to let go. But in order to be able to let go, you have to know the
Mhm.
truth of the universe. Uh, with our sense, our five senses, they are not permanent. They are not uh, real. It's a temporary thing. The senses will break down. Our body will break down. Right? Then what happened then? You have to always, and then that will have to refer to the Buddhism again, because the Buddha will explain the physical world really well. Like they would explain how it is an illusion, uh, uh, how we can get fooled and get trapped in it. And see, Buddhism, you have to read the real stuff, not the uh, like every day we see people going to temples, and then they uh, pray in front of a Buddha statue, and then they wish for this, wish for that. That's just a temple. That's not Buddhism. That's a temple trying to promote Buddhism, or trying to convey Buddhism, uh, but that's not it. It's just something uh, so people could get close to know Buddhism, and
Mhm.
that is not the whole story. That's just the if you learn deeper into Buddhism, that's a totally different thing. It's all about the mind,
Mm.
right? So if you have time, you can. Uh, I think looking at the Sutra platform first would be a good start.
Mhm.
Because that's directly, very directly go to the heart of the Buddhism.
Mm. Okay. Now we are at the last line, which I also don't understand very much. um, because he does not claim for the credit, hence shall not lose it.
Yeah, that one is a really tough to understand because that shall not lose it. Lose what? You
Yeah.
know, uh, for my own uh, experience and understanding, because the saints they don't they don't really they seek no recognition. So how do they want not to lose it, right? So I think that would not claiming for credit or recognition, they shall not lose their oneness
Mm.
mindset.
In this other book, it translates to when her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever.
Right. And the only thing that can last forever is the oneness,
Right, right.
is the present moment. Not
Hmm.
any recognition. Those won't last.
Right.
Yeah. A merit or all those are in the thought thought thinking thing, those won't last.
Okay.
The only
Yeah.
thing that will not get lost is the oneness. That's why they don't care material world. They would just follow the Tao, follow the
Hmm.
oneness,
Yeah.
and go through their lifetime with the oneness mind.
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
would,
That makes sense.
yeah,
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 because that's the only thing that will be eternal. Because here it says like
yeah,
not does not leave is the last two characters will not leave. So yeah.
right. Because any credit they claim, they're gonna lose it. Anybody will lose it because
Hmm.
they are not eternal, right? The only thing in the beings in this universe that would be eternal is the oneness. That's why it's so valuable compared to physical world. Physical world is nothing. It's a
Hmm.
very short time era. You maintain that oneness, you are eternal.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Um, so that is verse 2. Any main takeaways that you would like to share? Any last comments you'd like to share for the viewers?
Uh, yes, the speaking of the oneness is widely spoke, right? It's easy to just explain it or read about it, but the important thing is try to experience it yourself,
Mm.
even for a short moment, like for a second or 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and you think, oh, how come there's no thinking happening in my mind? See that was the oneness before you think that you had no thinking,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So then once you experience it, you know what it is, then you're on the right track because oneness and present moment is not an imagination. You cannot imagine that, oh no, I imagine this oneness. I imagine I have present. No, it, it has to be naturally happen. There's no projection, no imagination happen at all for that to happen. Yeah, so that's the conclusion of this chapter.
Okay, yeah, and I'll share my kind of main takeaways that I got from the chapter, which is that in the beginning it's about kind of seeing things without assigning like a subjectivity or emotional subjectivity to it. And
That's
then
important. Hmm.
the second part to me is kind of like acting without attachment to the outcome.
Yeah, yeah. See, it's once you understand the theory and in practice, it's 100 times harder to do,
Yeah,
right?
very, very hard.
Yeah, but then you still have to try to do it
Hmm.
because that is the only way to end any suffering, to
Hmm.
end any stress, that, to be eternal. That's the only practice. There's no other way.
Hmm. Okay, well, thanks, Dad. I learned a lot today, and yeah,
Good,
this
good.
helped.
Yeah, that's
This
mm,
helped a lot. So yeah, and we will do verse 3 another time. So I will
um,
link in the comments the PDF that I used for the analysis today, and we'll see you next time.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.